New startup Nicira has officially launched its software that will reportedly disrupt networking giants such as Cisco and Juniper networks. Nicira is a product of OpenFlow, and its software is called the Network Virtualization Platform. The software-based system creates virtual networks in cloud data centers, which could save companies millions of dollars. And to talk more about this highly anticipated software, Nicira's CTO and co-founder, Martin Casado, is joining us now by way of Skype. Thank you so much for chatting with us today, Martin.
Thank you.
Well, this software launch is gaining quite a bit of attention in the tech space. So what is it that makes it so exciting?
So what we're doing is we're decoupling applications from the network, much like applications have been decoupled from the server. And what this means at the end of the day is, while compute virtualization provides a lot of benefits from the perspective of a server, if you kind of zoom out your perspective to that of a data center, you lose a lot of these benefits. And the reason is because applications are still coupled to the network. So they can't, for example, move to different places. They're limited in what types of applications they can run. So we remove these bottlenecks. And as a result, we allow the benefits of server virtualization to be able to extend to the data center.
Okay, so this transferring of workloads between data centers, it's no small achievement. So how does it work?
So the simplest way to think about it is, like, we take these workloads and we put them into a world where everything they see is virtual. So today, if you have like an application or a virtual machine, it can see the physical network, and therefore if you move it, it can see that change, and that disrupts communication. What we do is we place it in an environment where everything it sees is virtual. So if we move it, for example, between one data center and another data center, it doesn't know that the world has changed, and therefore all of the communications goes undisrupted.
That's very interesting. Well, now tell us about OpenFlow, which is the technology behind Nicira. What does it do?
Sure. So the best way to think about OpenFlow is it's a standard method of communicating to switches. So what Nicira does is Nicira controls a network and network elements to give this illusion of virtualization. And the way that we talk to the switches is using OpenFlow. But what's important to remember is OpenFlow is actually a fairly small part of a larger solution. So I like to liken it to USB. So if you have a mouse that you use to drive your computer, for example, that mouse communicates to the computer using USB. So it's a very useful piece. However, the intellectual property is actually in the mouse. That is where kind of the real innovation works. And then the protocol used to communicate is just, it's a standard that's nice because it gives vendor independence and many can use, but it doesn't actually add to the innovation of the resulting product.
Right, and I understand that even though the software just recently launched, that it's been shipping since last summer, right?
That's right.
And already Nicira has customers on board like AT&T and eBay. So what have these companies found in using the platform?
Yeah, so I'd like to take kind of one of the quotes that we got from eBay. So today, in order to deploy a new application in a non-virtualized network, it often requires a lot of manual interaction with the network, which means you've got to go out and you've got to find the switches and you've got to configure them. And from eBay's standpoint, previously it would take roughly 7 days in order to do this configuration. Now, in the era of the cloud, that's just too much, right? We want to provision these in seconds or minutes. So with Nicira, when a new application comes up, it only takes seconds or minutes to configure a virtual network, not something like 7 days.
So I guess that's why Nicira's CEO has called this the missing piece to cloud computing.
Yeah, that's right, and I think that to kind of focus on that just a little bit, which is we've virtualized compute, and if you look at a server, we've virtualized a CPU, we virtualized memory, we virtualized storage, but we actually haven't virtualized the network. And so to really take advantage of compute virtualization and to really gain the benefits of the cloud, you need to virtualize every aspect of infrastructure in a data center, and the one that really has been the long pole has been the network, and that's the piece that we tackle.
So what makes Nicira confident that it can replace physical network innovation that really took decades to build with this virtual software?
Right. So this is a super question. So when compute virtualization came out, it didn't actually replace or change CPUs, right? It augments it and it supplements it. And so we do the same thing with physical networks. So we don't change physical networks. We don't require any change of gear. We add a new layer which uses this in a way that's more flexible. And so I think that the right way to think about it is similar to how server virtualization happens, which we augment and supplement, but we don't replace.
Okay. So what will this mean then for companies like Cisco and HP and Juniper Networks?
Yeah, so a lot of the traditional vendors continue to build on the existing model of networking, which is how do you build good physical networks? And because this is not what we do, we interoperate with all physical networks. We're almost tackling a different problem space. And so you will still continue to have vendors building great physical gear. Now, what we focus on is on customers, and our customers do want choice between vendors. Like they want to be able to choose between any of these large vendors. And so if they use Nicira MVP, they're able to choose between any of these hardware vendors, and all of them would provide good services, but still use ours. And we provide a lot of the flexibility and the agility on the provisioning side, on the application mobility side. And so, in the future, you will have both the virtual networking layer, which will be provided by companies like Nicira, and then you'll still have the physical ones provided by the traditional vendors.
Okay, so it's instead of a replacement, it's just a complement almost.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Okay, well, in a network computing article, the CEO of MBrain said, quote, Nicira is doing some very interesting things in the realm of scaling layer 2 and layer 3, but when it comes to scaling network services, it's going to be a different animal, end quote. What is your response to this statement?
Yeah, no, I think that this is. I'm guessing this is Dante. I think that's actually that's right. So when you scale L2 and L3, you use certain approaches, and when you work on virtualizing services, then you have to kind of use somewhat different technologies. And so from our standpoint, we don't like to talk about futures very much, but we've already virtualized some services, and we'll be virtualizing more. And in the next couple of months, you'll see these come out. And I very much agree that it does take some different approaches to do this correctly.
All right, so as far as the future, though, we can expect more development from this?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, we look forward to it. Thank you so much for talking with us, Martin, and best of luck with the venture.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Reporting for WebPro News, I'm Abby Johnson.